counter spells, win the game. Hello, beautiful people. I'm Supreme Verdicts, a practicing attorney by day and a magic strategist by night. After a long day working on the rule of law, I come home to master the laws of magic. In this video, we'll be playing yet another Azorius deck, the Geist of St. Traft. Geist of St. Traft is a legendary, obviously, Spirit Cleric 2/2 with hexproof. It's big. Wizards doesn't print too much hexproof these days, at least not on a bigger body like this. Whenever Geist of St. Traft attacks, create a 4/4 white angel creature token with flying that's tapped and attacking. Exile that token at the end of combat. This deck seeks to land an early threat in Geist of St. Traft and then protect it with a variety of a counter spell suite that just continues to let it beat in for 6 damage each turn. We have tons of cheap spells in this deck because it's less of a control deck and much more of a tempo deck. We want to land our cheap aggressive threat as quickly as we can and then just continue to protect it, draw cards using its unique abilities such as hexproof and the fact that we want to get it in for combat, and giving it various evasive effects such as flying and occasionally protection, but mostly flying. Geist of St. Traft is an incredibly powerful commander. You'll see that in the queue we're going to be facing up against a lot of the top decks, colloquially known as Hell queue, and it's certainly a deck that you need to pace out a little bit. You don't want to counter everything that they cast, you just want to counter what stops you from winning. And that's usually just going to be sacrifice effects, board wipes, and if you can't draw your evasive spells, occasionally a well-sized blocker. With that, let's jump in and see how the Geist of St. Traft can spook our opponents. The deck list, as always, is in the description. I originally net decked this particular deck from a couple content creators that I really enjoyed who published their own versions and then kind of mishmashed them together and have maintained it over the last few sets, because Geist of St. Traft came out with the Shadows over Innistrad, the original remaster that they did for Arena before they more recently did the remaster. It's a cool card. It's used a lot in Commander as a Voltron commander. You just suit it up with all sorts of auras and equipment and then just start hitting your opponents and, again, protecting it as best as possible. This deck is a little bit more flexible because of this one-on-one element. Our opponents are just going to try to kill things or be a little bit more targeted to us. Now, against Ragavan, we need a way to kill it. We have that. We need a way... And look at that. Our reputation precedes us. Good game, opponent? I told you this was a powerful deck. Opponent conceded without even playing anything. The Ragavan deck will be playing, hopefully, a lot of powerful commanders like that. As you can see, our queue times are a little undesirable because they're trying to put us into this higher queue of more powerful commanders. Here we go. Golos, played by Blightsteel. Dear God. But it's a little early in the morning where I'm at, so I can only imagine it's difficult finding opponents. This is not a good hand. Most importantly, we need to get our threat down as early as possible and then have counterspell backups, and this hand did not do that. This is a little bit better. We do have our counterspells, as I mentioned, although we're desperate for that third land, but we are on the draw. Hopefully we'll be able to pick that up. Nice. Let's start with Otawara, because if we draw planes, we'd like to have that second blue for counterspell. An opponent did not play a turn 1 mana dork. They are grabbing a fetch land, Triumph. So Golos is an interesting commander. When it enters, they can search their library for any land card, usually the World Tree, because it fixes their mana perfectly, puts it tapped, and then they can spend mana to exile cards. Usually just has big, splashy, horrific spells. There is the mana dork, unfortunate. We did draw the planes, funny enough. Let's go ahead and play that for now. We can counter whatever they next cast or kill their mana dork. Golos is a scary deck because it just ramps for itself continuously. It allows them to continually accrue value, play cards for free, cast big spells. It does everything that we don't want to get outpaced by, which is unfortunate, but that's all of our option right now. Let's hope this doesn't represent a wash away, because if so, we are probably going to not get very far in this game. Awesome, we're able to land Golos. Notice they only have 1 white mana. Damn, there's the second. Oh, good. No board wipe. From here on out, it should not be too hard to win. We have a variety of counter spells in hand. We're going to attack. Let's see if they do anything. We'll put a stop at the end of combat in case we want to use a little chat. Although, I think here it's going to be best to just let it go. Hold up our mana some more. Yeah, opponent wasted their turn 5. Perfect. Key to the archive. That will counter, unless they pay 2. We don't want them to get more mana. With enough mana, some of their big, scary spells can win the game all at once. They're looking over at our commander. They probably have 1 mana removal spell for white or black. And are unable to do anything. Zephyr Sentinel will be useful, but I don't think it's great right here. Let's go ahead and cast a little chat regularly. I guess we'll want... Fierce Obsession is really good. I do want to hit our land drops. We have 2 counterspells in hand. We should play this safe. 3 counterspells in hand. Let's go ahead and cast Staggering Insight. We'll be able to start drawing cards. This is the engine. We have our threat. Now we'll be able to draw cards. We'll be able to hit in the air. They'll start getting desperate and start killing off our angel, which is no problem. We'll pay 2 life. I think it's most important here to hold up 2 counterspells. Wash Away and No More Lies. Or, yeah, let's go ahead and do that. Because we still have the Zephyr Sentinel if we need to. And there it is. We'll No More Lies here because it's not a hard counter. And they continue ramping. Nice. We can add some pressure with Elspeth, but there's no need. We'll throw down a Selfless Savior. We'll go ahead and attack. We have 1 more turn before we win. The clock is ticking. We just gotta get the opponent. We're not even gonna play Hope of Giriper, because we'd rather hold up Counterspell. And, you know, Zephyr Sentinel. Good game, Blightsteel. Way to do nothing. That was enigmatic of what we want to do. Play our cheap threat, attack, protect our cheap threat. Rusko's a little bit more dangerous, because they can counter our commander on the way down, which makes it a lot harder to get that clock going. Now, this isn't a bad hand. We have protection. We don't have evasion, which can be really important here. And as much as I like the idea of mana tithing them, they might just hold up counterspell indefinitely. So I think we should mulligan here. Nice. We have a little bit more, some threats. Let's go ahead and throw down a Mausoleum Wanderer. This can counter an instant or sorcery spell, forcing them to pay extra mana, which will be very helpful if they're trying to wash away our Geist, forcing them to keep open a little bit more mana. I think here we're going to have to Rivendell because we want to be able to Geist on curve, despite Spectral Adversary being another fantastic card. Phasing out is good to stop against, whatchamacallit, any kind of sacrifice effect. But most importantly, let's go ahead and attack first, just in case they try to counter it. Perfect. A little bit of a misplay, but that's okay. We missed some damage, but we protected from got an extra damage, and if they had wash away. Spectral Adversary, like I was saying, is really good if they're trying to use a sacrifice effect or any kind of board wipe once we have enough mana. Otherwise, it's 2 mana Flash Body, which 2 extra damage increases our clock by that much more. This is an aggressive deck. Don't be confused because of the counter spells. They are in here to protect the deck. Okay, resolve. Yeah, go ahead. Now part of the question comes, can we find evasion? Wow. Are we good or what? The trick to playing Magic's just be good. Even better. Let's go ahead and hold up the Valorous Stance, Concerted Defense. Yeah. Just start beating it a bit. It's unfortunate this is an Angel and not a Spirit. There's a lot of good Spirit synergies in the deck. For anyone who was watching the Pro Tour, God, a year and a half ago now, maybe 2 years ago at this point, there was Pioneer at the Pro Tour, and Mono Blue Spirits won, featuring Spectral Adversary, Mausoleum Wanderer, and a few of the other Spirit Synergy cards that we have in the deck, because Geist of St. Traft is in fact a Spirit Cleric. What are they doing? Search your library for a card. We have a counter for a non-creature spell. Yeah, sure. Spend your turn tutoring. That's okay. Now, if it's a Toxic Deluge, that's going to be actually kind of problematic, so we might want to hold up the Spectral Adversary, but we also have Slip Out the back, so I'm not too worried. If I were them, I'd be getting Toxic Deluge. It's one of the best board wipes to kill Geist because it's cheap. It's only 3 mana. They gonna counterattack? That's one of the other good ways to play against Geist, is to relentlessly be aggressive back. If I'm in a position where I have to block, I can't really be in a position where I'm attacking. Well, good news, we're hitting them for a lot more than they're hitting us. Did not draw a land, so I don't feel comfortable playing out anything currently. Now, maybe they have Counterspell backup plus Toxic Deluge? That'd be kind of rough. Wow, River's Rebuke? Oh, buddy. Oof. Not Spell Piercing it. I know Concerted Defense, but it's the same card. Yeah, I feel pretty safe now. Note that they specifically left up 1 mana for the Mausoleum Wanderer to be able to pay, but we could have flashed in the Spectral and stopped them, which would have been pretty fun, but a little unnecessary. Now, had I done the math there, I would have realized the Spectral Adversary does not actually contribute to the clock. They would be at 5 instead of at 3, but, you know, it's not really a game at this point. Rusko can try to board wipe again with Counterspell backup, but we have Slip Out the back, and that's game. Way to try, Rusko. Way to try. Tempo decks are one of my favorite style of decks to play. I like being able to attack every turn and put my opponent into tight spots while still having that kind of blue counterspelly magic. And realistically, there's only 3 good ways to stop a tempo deck because they're so fast. Oh, this is a fine hand, right? Yeah, this will be fun. As long as we can draw the 3rd land. We'll keep it. We'll try it out. The 3 ways to stop a tempo deck are: 1, to get them into a position where they're blocking. Just keep attacking them. 2, counterspell the commander. Or counterspell their cheap threats. They can't really land anything on the board then. But that requires a lot of luck and some good card draw. Good mana early too. 3, have the board wipe on turn 4. If I tap out cast Geist of St. Traft, and then my opponent untaps and wipes the board while I'm tapped out, that's it. This is a low curve deck. I don't have a ton of lands in here. It's one of the reasons I want to surveil this, but I can Mana Tithe if we need to. We probably are going to Mana Tithe. But by getting rid of Geist, all of a sudden I'm left with nothing until turn 5 when I try to recast it. There is some other cheap evasive threats in here that I can suit up with my auras, but they take a lot longer to get the job done. In the alternative, if the opponent can counter, they still need to close out the game, so it helps if they have some kind of mana advantage or a way to go over the top with their own cards, like that Golos deck. They were developing out their mana, and that's one of the reasons we chose to counter their Key to the Archive. We had an extra counter spell, and if they could get to enough mana, they could start double spelling, triple spelling, and really knocking us out. We saw that with the Rusko player, who tutored for a River's Rebuke, which is a fine removal spell in a sense, a board wipe, but a Toxic Deluge in that particular spot would be a lot stronger because it's a cheaper spell and they could have a counter spell as a backup. Against a tempo deck like this, it's important to double up on one of your resources, that way you can slow them down and fully just hammer away at what they're doing really well. Now, Tomi B is about to rope out, which means we'll get to start. No problem with that. We'll play our Polluted Delta, we'll hold it up for the Mana Tithe to counter the Ragavan turn 1, or We'll use it to get our surveil land. That way we can actually try to find our third land. That would be ideal here. But we'll see if they're actually here and playing the game. Maybe that's why the queue time is so long. I do like their sleeves though. It's pretty good. It's Chandra during the Phyrexian invasion. She lit up everything. She destroyed the world tree or something, right? With Ren. I don't know. I'm not super into the plot. I like Phyrexia a lot. But that's how it goes. Regardless, though, I'm excited for Aether Drift. The plot's fine. I like the whole idea that Chandra entered a death race for Nissa. That's really cute. I like Lute. I think he's fun. I know a lot of people don't like him that much, but I like him more than Kellen, so, I'll take it. I like that Jace and Vraska are kind of villains now. That's fun. I'm curious to see where they're going to go with that. But I'm most excited for Aether Drift because I'm looking forward to drafting. I'm finally, now that this vid channel's picking up a little bit and I'm publishing more videos, I hope to be drafting a lot more. That's where a lot of my passion lies for Magic, and hopefully we'll get some good content out for you guys there. Good game, Tommy. We take those. We take those. Alright, we figured out the trick to win whenever you want. Just play before 7 AM on the East Coast, so you're up against the Europeans during their lunchtime. Seems to be it. Alright, we have a counterspell. We have a hand disruption spell. Opponent gets to go first. We don't have good evasion. We don't have any removal. We don't have our third land. We don't have a way to look for it. This hand's very average. We're gonna mulligan to see if we can do better. It's a little bit better. Mausoleum Wanderer, counterspell backups. This Swan Song's probably not that good in this deck. A 2/2 bird token is pretty bad for us. We'll keep this, I think. We can surveil to look for that last land. Rusko's going to get a chance to set up against us. This might be a game where they can really put themselves in a good position. But, yeah, they know to crack it immediately. Stifles in this format. But there's a chance they haven't played against Geist of St. Traft too much. Or are unfamiliar with it. Thoughtseize, okay. What do you take here? Honestly, Elspeth is scariest from my perspective. I think that's the best card in our hand because that's the evasion Geist needs to get around Rusko. Apparently they don't know how to beat Geist though. Good game, No Mercy. Alright, confirmed. If you want to win games, just play early in the morning on East Coast time. There's some incredible players around the world. Europe, Africa, Asia, Australia. There's representation at the upcoming Pro Tour. I don't know what's going on. It should be their lunchtime, their dinner time, their evening, and yet no one wants to compete against the Geist. He's too spooky. He's got that boo factor to him. I don't know. Does mean I get to show off some more of the cool cards though, bit by bit. Now here's a scary deck actually. Okay, Jetmir. This is the fear with Jetmir is they can just overpower us. We can only do 6 damage a turn. Jetmir, can do 9 double striking kind of damage fairly quickly. Now we have good counter spells. Can we draw the last land? We have removal for like double, triple removal for Jetmir. I think we keep it. And we just kind of hope and pray. I didn't even play my land. What is going on? These are paid actors. They have to be. If you want a deck that gets you turn 1 scoops, you should be playing Geist of St. Traft. Davriel Soulbroker. This is a really fun deck. I have a Davriel Brawl deck that maybe I'll show you guys one day. I really enjoy it. It's just kind of good old Planeswalker control. You know I love my Planeswalker control if you've seen the Koth video. Opponent goes first. They're going to have sacrifice effects. That's what we have to be worried about in a mono-black matchup. We need our white mana that has a creature, but I think we can do better. Perfect. We have a flash creature, even. No evasion, but they shouldn't have creatures. Seachrome Coast. Unable to Scream is a dead card in our deck right now, but it's fine. Black Medallion, they have next turn Davriel, but we can say something about that if we'd like to, and I think that's worth it. It's a really good card. Discounts all of their other spells. Soft! Everyone I'm playing today just can't handle. You know, at first I was a little nervous that I wasn't going to have time to record a full video before going to work or anything, but at the rate this is going, this is nothing. Hitotsugu and Kairi is an interesting deck. It's more of a combo deck than anything else. We have our mana. The opponent goes first. We don't really have counter spells here. They're going to have removal. That's how these things play. It's a late game commander too. So we'll probably have removal on the earlier side. Let's try to get a little bit better. This is better counter spells, as well as another creature for any sacrifice type effects. And this one gives us protection from board wipes too. It's good stuff, it's good stuff. We're gonna wait for them to crack their fetch land and then we'll crack ours, just in case they have a stifle effect. You never know. Also, it's fun to make them wait. It's part of the mind game. Oh man. Oh yeah, I want to Spell Pierce. This deck often, Hitotsugu and Kairi, when they enter, they draw 3 cards and put 2 cards from their hand on top of their library. It's a brainstorm effect. When it dies, exile the top card of their library, we lose life, and then they can cast it without paying their mana cost. Only if it's an instant or sorcery. This says counter target instant or sorcery. Usually it's going to be a clones type of deck, a way to just continuously make more and more creatures, or more and more copies of Hitotsugu and Kairi. Oh look, there's Brainstorm itself. Oh nice, and they'll get to flush it away with Polluted Delta. So we're going to try to pressure them. We're going to want to counter some of their spells that they're going to attempt to cast for free, and actually make them pay mana for it. Polluted Delta, by the way, they now put the top 2 cards that were the worst from their hand on top of their library, and now they'll get to search for a new land and shuffle those 2 bad cards, flush them away into their deck. Even better, they can now surveil to make sure the top card. It turns Brainstorm from a kind of a draw 1 card but reorder stuff into a much better card, because all of a sudden you can fully remove 2 unnecessary cards and draw a few better. Thoughtseize. Okay. They'll now get to play around our Spell Pierce, but that's not a huge deal. It's annoying, but it's not a huge deal. We will want to hold up counter magic for Hitotsugu and Kairi, because otherwise they'll just... Yeah, I'm not casting Geist here. They have Counterspell up. We're going to want to hold up Counterspell for Hitotsugu and Kairi, because otherwise they're just going to be able to block our commander. We don't have good evasion for it at the moment. This has flying, so we won't have a good way to give it unblockable yet. But that's okay. We can hold off for a bit. We are still pressuring them with our 2-1. I don't think we'd defend it, though, if they tried to kill it. Let's go ahead and attack. Now, we don't want to cast Geist this turn, because they just have Counterspell and they weren't going to do anything. While, yes, it would make it so we could go again. Oh, that's pretty nice. I do kind of want to counter that, but I don't think that matters too much. They can Brainstorm as much as they want, as long as they don't have a great draw. The issue is this gives them more lands and more time to figure out what to smooth their draw out, but that's okay. See, this turn we wanted to stop them from casting Hitotsugu and Kairi. Well, now we have Counterspell backup. We can cast our commander and still hold up a Counterspell to protect it. But if they have something of their own, we need 1 more land. Let's go ahead and attack with Selfless Spirit. I think the play here is just going to be to get down Esper Sentinel. Let's start drawing some cards, constraining their mana a little bit. They're not going to like this. And if we can get a counterspell out of their hand, even better. That's fine. They still have something. Probably a removal spell for Selfless Spirit or some other card draw effect. A lot of low impact spells, which is interesting for Hidetsugu and Kairi. This might be more of a value deck. Destroy target creature. Okay. That's fine. Maybe they have some kind of sacrifice effect. I think here we're going to want to... No, Rusko's still kind of fine. Well, Rusko's not great. Let's memory lapse. Counterspell might have been a bit better. That resolved instantly. Oh, good. That's fine. That actually smooths out our mana a little bit more. Unfortunately, we don't have a way to get past the Harbinger, but if they're going to attack, all the better. Yeah, there's no way. I'm not letting you have Rusko. It's a great card. Unfortunately, we use 2 spells against that, but that's okay. They will go ahead and take 6. This is bad because we don't have evasion yet, which is a big issue with this deck. So hopefully, somehow we bait out another attack from Harbinger of the Seas. I just don't see it happening. That's fine. They can ramp. Even better, they hit us for 2. That was... I don't know why they're attacking. I mean, that's... okay. I could use Miscast on that, but I don't want them to know about Miscast. I don't want them to have as perfect knowledge of our hand. And we've stopped them from casting their commander all game, which is a huge boon for us as well. Wow. They don't even have the counterspell back. They knew we had it. They saw it in our hand from Thoughtseize. Okay, opponent. Whatever. Is there anyone who can stand up to the Geist of St. Traft? Or is Ragavan going to scoop again before we even get a chance to play a land? We'll find out. Opponent goes first. They'll be able to cast their turn 1 Ragavan. We'll be able to Swords to Plowshares it. They'll be able to cast something else. We hope we draw our 3rd land. Let's keep. Make sure they don't have a Pyroclasm in their hand. Wow, Ragavan. Oh my god. You see that? That was Fury? That was either Fury or Mox Amber. Something. Yeah, I'm not going to let you have that mana. Mox Amber. Now we know. So less likely that they have Fury. Let's go ahead. 2 mana up. They have something in hand. Goblin Chain Whirler is annoying. I think Chandra is going to be a lot worse though, because we do have, actually we don't have a way to get past Goblin Chain Whirler. So let's go ahead and get rid of that, make it more expensive. That way we can attack down Chandra, because she... yeah. Oh, they did manage to cast Ragavan again. I should have done the math. That's my bad. Alright, well, we'll get 1 hit. That's okay. They'll cast Chandra. Probably exile something or other. God, the music for this map is so much more intense. No blocks. You can have 1 attack. What do you get? Treasure and Rivendell. That's okay. We are a little bit blue mana constrained. Oh, excuse me. Am I just gonna let them have treasures? Is this bad? I don't know what the plan is here. We can attack Invasion of Gobakon, but they'll be able to Chaos Warp it. Do we mind that? I don't know if we mind that much. Because we could bounce the Goblin Chain Whirler and the Ragavan, but that starts to get us a little bit... Actually, we could just trade there. I think that's okay. We can go ahead and hold up Rattle Chains. Yeah, I think that's going to be the plan. To just kind of trade with the Ragavan, bait out an attack from them, play this a little bit slower. If they get Chandra down, we can then kill it. Hope that they waste their turn on it. Opponent's being annoying with the emotes, but that's okay. Wow, perfect. They probably have a removal spell. I mean, we know they have a removal spell. Would they like to use it? No? Okay. They can recast Ragavan. And we're blue mana constrained, so we don't want to be holding up Wash Away, but we do have instant speed options still. Yeah.
Hey, over here! There's no problem.
They hit their land drop. That's great. They already played this turn? Yeah, they did. That's funny. Misplay. Oh, thank God. Let's bounce this. Let's go ahead and just play this. They can cast Ragavan. I don't care. I would rather... This says if we deal combat damage to a player. Let's just kill the Chandra. Let's just kill the Chandra. Make it nice and easy. They have their Chaos Warp up still.
I am out of here.
Ouch, that does hurt. But that's alright. We can get a little bit more tempo-y, which is the goal of the game. Now that we have that fourth land, we'll be able to give this indestructible or whatever we need to push some damage. They have a lot of mana. Opponent's been flooding fairly hard. I would not be surprised if they dashed Ragavan to try to hit something off the top of our library. Is that Cavernous Souls? Okay. Wash Away is kind of useless now, but that's alright. Players can't gain life at the beginning of your end step. Make a food. Or conjure a food fight. What does food fight do? Artifacts let you sacrifice and deal damage. Ouch. Let's go ahead and attack. And at this point, let's flip Invasion. We can kill the Goblin Chain Whirler. And then we'll hold up the Wash Away, that in case they draw some kind of board wipe. Now if they wanted, they could Chaos Warp the enchantment there to make sure that Goblin Chain Whirler survives, but I don't think they're too worried about that. They're going to try to burn us out with Overcooked and Food Fight. Does this trigger every... your end step? Good. And we'll pass turn. Let's see if they Chaos Warp in response. They don't have the mana, actually. So now we are big enough that we can overtake most things. Well, you could top deck Burn Down the House. Try for it. Still burn us out. That's 16. Good game, Keen Salazar. Have we no competitors? Is there no one to stop our unbeatable streak? Derevi's a good commander. If anyone has a chance. Derevi can also block our commander, so it's going to be important to have some kind of a pump effect. We don't have white mana. Cool hand. No white mana. Have to mulligan. Sad. This is fine. Hopefully we draw a land. Oh, something for 0 mana already? Once upon a time. Cool. This looks like it's Covert Go Blues list, which is a good list. I'm a fan. go ahead and start here. Just get a creature down, because it's important. We're a tempo deck. We need to get under their counter spells a bit. Okay. Opponent? Do they have subtlety? What do we think? They might have subtlety. Subtlety, though, puts it on top of our library. Opponent does not have subtlety. Does opponent have a board wipe in their creature deck? They might. I've played against Derevi decks that are fully control. Okay. Opponent gets to untap a land and equip Tome of Gadwick if they'd like. They go for white mana. Okay. They have every color and it has Ward 1. Alright, it is too important for us. Yep. That. It's a 1v1 format. There's going to be removal. There's going to be counter spells. The second or third one, sure. Bad luck, concede. The first one? The first one? Soft. All this queue time is helping me realize I kind of need to clean my keyboard. I might do that later today. Alright. Phylactery Rich, playing Tamiyo. Probably one of the strongest decks in the format, if not the strongest deck in the format. We have an unkeepable hand. Much better. Still not great. They'll turn 1 Tamiyo. We can't Spell Pierce it. We can Spell Pierce whatever. I guess we'll still play it. Try it out. Let's see. Yeah, turn 1 Tamiyo. Wow. It's almost like that's good.
I must investigate this scroll further.
Yeah. Investigate this scroll further. Make a clue. Mono blue so far, so maybe this is the fun version as opposed to the more toxic version. I think here we can Polluted Delta and then just kind of hold up, decide what we want to play. They'll crack the clue. In that case, do we want Cathar Commando out? I think I'd rather see what's on top of my deck. No, we want Cathar Commando out. The reason why we're going for Cathar Commando over getting that Surveil in is because our next turn we're going to want to play Geist. So we want to give them the opportunity to counter a spell. That way we get a counter spell out of their hand and we can hopefully land Geist a little bit more easily. We'll wait. They're fetching, they're ramping, they're this and that. They are in fact Simic, which is the gross version that lets them continuously recur their extra turn spells. And just, it's so nasty. Are they just going to crack it now? Maybe. They could have Counterspell, they could have nothing. You never know. That's what's so annoying about this deck. Because I'd love to cast Geist, but they could just have up the Counterspell. And if they just have up the Counterspell, we lose. So it's going to be a little bit better here to, I think, play out the Selfless Spirit. And pass. Which feels bad because they're getting ahead on mana, they're getting ahead on cards, we're not able to act at instant speed here, they can just keep drawing cards. But we're doing our best. Agent of Rafine is a really good card. They can start stealing our counterspells. Attacks, makes a clue. I'm not going to block because there's some cards that matter about that. They going to draw 3 cards here? I guess not. Alright. First things first, we're going to Mox Amber. Now we're going to attempt to cast Geist. They will counterspell, and we will counterspell. Alright, we have Geist down. We have effectively a form of protection. They have a chance to flip Tamiyo, which is terrifying. Gives -1/-0, which is just so annoying, and then her ultimate is you win the game. Draw all the half the cards in your library. You don't have to discard them. Cast extra turn spell, extra turn spell, extra turn spell, extra turn spell. It's exhausting. Alright, no clue what Agent of Rafine got, but they now have it in their hand. Dryad of the Elysian Grove is good. Let's see if they have the extra land drops to go along with it. Terrifying. Oh, I should have maybe... Oops. Let's name Spirit. That was a bit of a misplay. I could have sacrificed this to kill the Dryad last turn, which would have made it a little bit easier to get in attacks this turn, because otherwise I need to go for Archangel Elspeth. Although I don't mind Geisting... Yeah, this isn't that big of a deal. Let's go ahead. So no matter what, I think we are going to sacrifice to kill the Dryad. Which, I guess I should have done that pre-combat then. But it's okay. They have a lot of mana now. Which is unfortunate, because it makes it harder for us to actually hit something with Make Disappear. And they're at 18 life. Unlimited mana. Okay, Agent of Rafine only got an island. That's terrifying. Unfortunately, that is also going to just be worth countering permanently. So we'll go ahead, cast Make Disappear. They have, it seems, something. They could crack a clue, but if they have a counter spell, it's okay, because this makes it so they have to pay 2 twice. Okay, they do nothing. Yeah, this doubles the permanence, so as soon as Tamiyo flips, they're then able to ultimate her. That being said, they're already going to be able to ultimate her next turn. Just with, what's it called? With drawing cards. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to try to draw something that helps get rid of her. Or at least just pummels down a bit. But we'll see if our opponent can just kind of go for the win here. Now, our curve top's at 4, so I don't feel the need to play this. I'd rather make them think we have something in our hand to remove Tamiyo at instant speed, in the hopes that that stops them from making any plays. Agent of Rafine, we don't have to worry about getting like a board wipe like River's Rebuke, because that's not... Okay, that's unfortunate, but honestly not that bad. Gives us lethal in the air next turn. Unless they keep Tamiyo up as a blocker. So I'm not sure what their plan is. A River's Rebuke there would have been horrific. We would lose. They're still attacking with Tamiyo. No? Okay. Let's go ahead. Because there's no way that we're going to get Elspeth in. Oh, okay. Spell Queller. That's fine. Now we can do this. They're going to be wanting to chump in some capacity against one of these. They're at 9. Which means we'll get Archangel Elspeth anyway, and we weren't going to be going for 1/1 counters. Oh, there we go. Instead, the plan is to make a 1/1. But they didn't block with Spell Queller. Our Spell Queller, notably. What's the plan here? Opponent could have flipped Tamiyo. Opponent could have, like, effectively tutored their library for a board wipe. We are not doing well, but they can double block next turn with Spell Queller and Brazen Borrower, but that doesn't really do much. We are in top deck mode. We've got nothing that are... This is why we have cards like Rivendell in the deck, is when we get into a flood out situation, it allows us to effectively top deck a bit. They could double block here. If they double block, they kill Geist, send him back to the command zone. and are then able to, yeah, because they didn't play Tamio, so they want to block in some capacity. We're at 31 life. They double block, we get back Archangel Elspeth. I think that's worth it. She's one of the strongest cards in our deck. Yeah, that's okay. Okay, they can triple block. Does Agent or a Fiend? Yeah, it conjures a duplicate. Okay, or they can chump. Ah, here we go. So they don't have to chump under Elspeth. That's fine, I think. It's unfortunate. They did have another way of stopping our Geist. But we have it back. They know we had the Plains in hand, so we might as well play it out. Next turn they have to chump unless they can play the Tamio out again. Opponent's got 6 cards in hand and has a way of just drawing more and more and more. We're in so much trouble. Next turn on upkeep they can sacrifice a Coma Coil to tap down Geist to stop us from being able to attack. We're pretty much, they might be at 1 life, but we don't have direct damage here. So they are in a kind of winning position unless they mess up. And that's where we can hope. That's pretty good. We have access to Spell Pierce, Make Disappear. Let's go ahead and attack. They didn't stop us. Opponent. Cool. Yeah, that's fine. I think that's okay. The plan here is going to be... Yes. Cast Elspeth. Do they have something they're gonna do? Oh. Oh no, that triggers first. Can they use the Coma Coil Serpent to stop our Elspeth? Did I mess up here? They can stop Elspeth. That's brutal. We have no way of countering that in particular. Ouch. Now we can cast Geist. So they have to play Tamio. Or we hold back Geist and try to flash in Snapcaster Mage. That's an option. I don't think it's a very good one. Here they'll attack down Archangel Elspeth. Dang, Coma can stop Planeswalkers? That's annoying. God, this Agent of Rafine is generating so much value for them. They're not even using their commander. This is such a good deck, but yeah, at this point they're just kind of going for it. Yep, get your land. We're hoping to counterspell something a little bit stronger, like an extra turn spell. Oh my god. The One Ring. Is this game fully over? This game might just be fully over. No blocks. Can't do damage to them next turn.
If we lose,
yeah,
none
make
will
another
be
coil.
spared.
We're gonna go ahead and destroy Coma while they are mostly tapped out. Stop them from being able to do any more shenanigans. Attacking doesn't do anything here because of the One Ring. They'll be able to draw some cards, that's fine. Unfortunately, Snapcaster Mage is not the one of our flash flyers like Fairy Mastermind. So we're not going to be able to get in here. But they need to cast Tamio to have a flyer, because our Angel will otherwise be able to stop it unless they have some other form of removal spell. And I think against Tamio, we can then just use Snapcaster Mage to counter. Excuse me? What does this do?
From all
Okay.
interlopers.
Great.
You have forced my hand.
Alrighty. 1, 2, 3. 3 mana left. 3 mana left. We have to use Make Disappear. And if they have a counterspell, then we're dead. Snapcaster Mage to make disappear is so beautiful. It's one of my favorite things. We counter Tameo, unless they pay 4. They can't pay 4. Do they have a way to bounce my Angel? Maybe, in which case we're dead. But we still have Miscast. Oh, and we have Counterspell backup. What did I say? We counter spells, and we win the game. We counter spells, and we win the game. Oh, god damn it. That's okay. We counter spells, and we win the game. Never didn't have it. Undefeated. What did I tell you? We play some counter spells and we win the game. That last game was insane. The opponent stealing the Fairy Mastermind, so they had our flying blocker as opposed to having a bounce spell or some other kind of removal spell that they could have had in their deck. But we top decked, of course, one of the best spells in the game, Counterspell, coming in clutch, protecting our small evasive threats from just beating down the opponent into absolute oblivion. If you like this deck, this is a tempo deck, which is a very different feel from some of the other decks I've played. I highly recommend you check out one of my other Brawl decks. I have Koth, a mono-red control deck, Yorion, another Azorius but flicker control deck, as well as a mono-green Storm deck with Nylea, which is a little bit bonkers of a concept. Geist of St. Traft performs incredibly well. It's a really aggressive yet very powerful deck because of the counterspell backups. There's all sorts of fun things that you can do as well because of its unique keyword abilities. With Hexproof, it makes it perfect for suiting it up with various auras and things that can give it evasion. It forces the opponent to try to remove those auras, which is a mana inefficient game, allowing us to accrue advantage and percentage points towards winning just by them destroying our Curious Obsession because they can't kill our 3-mana 2/2 Hexproof. But by putting these kinds of auras onto Geist, he becomes a card and generating engine. There's a few fun things that I didn't get to show in the video that you can also do with the 4/4 Flying Angel. For example, a Little Chat and Make Disappear are both casualty cards that played a role in the game, just wasn't the perfect opportunity, where if you set an end or a stop in your combat to the end of combat, you can then cast a Little Chat with the trigger on the stack for your Angel to disappear. This allows you to casualty 1, sacrificing the Angel after it's already done its combat damage so that you can draw an extra card. This is an incredibly powerful effect when it comes into play. Now, there's also some non-bows with the Angel disappearing. Invasion of Gobekon does not put counters on the Angel, but that's okay. It's not the purpose of the card necessarily. And a couple other things that either play well with it or play against it. Your opponent's always going to try to remove the Angel at a certain point, which is a little embarrassing on their part, but it's kind of fun in that way. You can phase the Angel out so that there's a few phasing abilities, such as March of Swirling Mist, such as Slip Out the Back. You can phase the Angel out so that you keep your 4/4 in combat in play for the next turn. That way you have just another beater, and that's something you can do if you're playing a more aggressively slanted deck, such as against Aragavan. Now all of a sudden on your next turn you can decide to keep a 4/4 back and continue attacking, as well as some other fun twists within this deck as well. I'm a huge fan. The mana base has to be fairly aggressively blue-white mixed. That way, you see, we play some tap lands that are not ideal just because we need our color fixing, and our first 2 turns aren't as important. They're more about setting up the board and making sure that we're ready to get running once we have Geist of St. Traft online. And that's the deck. I really hope you enjoyed it. Geist of St. Traft is a really fun, powerful commander. It can get a lot of salt, so it's perfect for Arena, where we don't know our opponents and they can continue to scoop. My verdict on this deck would have to be that it is among the most powerful and fun of all time. Thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful day.